Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my recordings. In this recording, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about a book that had a dramatic impact on me back in the day when I originally read this book back in 2004. And even to this day, to be honest with you, there are principles that I continue to apply to my life. And I think that's always a testament to any kind of book that has that type of staying power, right? And has the ability to stick with you and continue to influence your behaviors, your actions, your thought processes. And so I think that this is a real testament to the power of the written word. And the book that I actually want to talk about is not a comic. It's not actually a comic book. It's actually a business book. And if you guys have been following this channel for any length of time, you know that I'm a huge fan of taking principles that I've learned from business and from corporate America and kind of applying them to comics. It's actually one of the things that I really enjoy doing because I think that there are so many aspects of our life that we kind of segment off without fully realizing and appreciating just how applicable lessons can be to other aspects of our life. Like there are things that happen in the comic book world that I think are applicable to outside the comic book world, and there's certainly things outside the comic book world that have an impact on how we collect and how we look at this market and this hobby as a whole. And so that's kind of what I want to do is I want to take some time to kind of talk about this really cool book. And the truth of the matter is, many of you may not have even read this book before, which is perfectly fine because I'm going to give you a little bit of context and a little bit of setup as to what this book is all about. At least what my takeaways were. At least what my takeaways were from this book over these many years. So I could completely be making half this stuff up that I'm going to say, but the book is still out there in print if you ever wanted to actually check it out. But the book spent a lot of time talking about a concept of a blue ocean and a red ocean. And again, this is the blue ocean strategy. And so metaphors, right, are really important here. So there was a blue ocean and there was a red ocean. And in the red ocean, it was basically what they called the bloody waters, right? The bloody waters of competition, where competition was fierce. Right? There in this red ocean, there was a lot of competition and a lot of competitors that were in there vying for their opportunity to get at one of the very few fish that was actually swimming around in these bloody waters. Now, contrast that to the blue ocean. There was a blue ocean where it was calm and it was peaceful and it was very serene, and there were few, if any, competitors that actually happened to be in this water. But more importantly, there were lots of fish. There was lots of opportunity out there to be had by those very few competitors that were actually fishing in these blue waters. Now, what's interesting here is that the red ocean is easy to spot. The red ocean, the bloody waters, are easy to spot because there is a lot of commotion. There's a lot of energy and a lot of action, and there is a lot of noise that is coming out of those bloody waters by competitors trying to one up another, right? One up the other person by catching one of the few fish that was out there swimming around, right? But the blue ocean, man, the blue ocean was much harder to find. Why? Because there were fewer competitors there. And those competitors that were there were pretty quiet. They were silent. They were doing what needed to be done kind of under the radar. Now, those that were fishing in the blue ocean may have started out in the red ocean, but decided that there was a better way. There was a better way to kind of approach this thing. They realized that they didn't have to get in there shoulder to shoulder with all of these other people trying to go for the few fish. They realized that if they ventured out, that if they were creative, that if they thought a little differently, that they could create a blue ocean for themselves where they might have it all to themselves, where they could just do what it is that needed to be done in silence. They moved in silence. And so if you guys haven't quite figured this out, what I'm talking about here is actually my speculation strategy. There are people that actually do not consider me a speculator, which I'm okay with, right? I'm okay with people not thinking that that label applies to me. It's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. I am a comic book collector who tries to be smart about what he does. And if I don't fit in a box, I'm actually quite okay with that. I'm quite okay with people saying that I'm not a speculator, right? Because I think what I try to do is I try to find the blue ocean. I try to find the blue ocean versus being in the bloody waters. I go to where the competition isn't. I go to where I think that there may be opportunities. And is there risk there? Absolutely, there is risk there. There is a chance that nothing will pan out, but there's also a chance that you could be in those bloody waters of competition and nothing will happen there either, right? So it is a risk that you take, and it is definitely a calculated risk. But for me, I try to go where the competition isn't. I try to get ahead of the competition by thinking a little bit differently. Try to think a little bit differently about this hobby, because here's the truth, and this is my truth, right? And I think that it's okay if people don't necessarily agree with this. But I think that when it comes to speculation, if that is a game that you attempt to play, I think that by the time that people are actually talking about it in mass, it is probably too late. By the time that you start to see it on Instagram, it is probably too late. Right? It is probably too late because, again, the bloody ocean is easy to find because there is a whole lot of noise that is in those waters. But it's typically when there is no noise, when there is silence, when there is calm, that is where the opportunities actually happen. People oftentimes send me emails and they say, or messages on Instagram, and they're like, when should I buy? When's the right time to buy this hot book? and my thought is, you buy the hot book when it's actually not hot, when it's actually relatively cheap. That is actually the time that you buy it. By the time that it is on Instagram or on a YouTube video that someone is doing it, there is a chance that it could be too late. Again, these are my beliefs. These are my beliefs. And what I'm trying to do is to kind of share my thoughts. And at the end of the day, what you are going to have to do is you're going to have to take this in and you're going to have to evaluate for yourself whether there is some truth here. Maybe there are some things that you can use. Maybe there's some things that you discard. Maybe there's some things that you take in and you modify and make it work for you. But these are my truths, and I put them out there with the hope that they may actually spark a thought within someone else. That is actually that is my hope. But I want to give you guys a couple of examples, because I think that sometimes examples can kind of help to paint the picture. One of the examples that readily comes to mind for me right now, and I'm not going to talk about this one in detail, but Batman 89. Man, those waters are bloody. Whether you were talking about the regular cover, the B cover, or the print error, those waters are bloody. That book was $99 before it had even come out. I think I saw a print error version for $999. I don't know if it sold, but I did see that. But again, those waters are bloody. Those waters are bloody. And if you were able to find one for like $4 or whatever the cover price was, that hey, go for it. But hopefully you were able to get it and then turn around and sell it, because who knows what the future is going to bring with that particular book. We don't know whether that book will retain its value or not. There were a lot of people that actually were able to get it and were incredibly disappointed with what they actually saw inside the book. I didn't buy it. So I am honestly going off of anecdotal evidence here. And so if I'm wrong in this, I'm not going to be ashamed to admit that I got it wrong, right? Because I am going off of anecdotal evidence. And if you knew the time at which I was recording this video, you would understand, like, this is like real time stuff, right? But Another example that readily comes to mind is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 28, the first appearance of Omnipotentus. And if you have been collecting for about 2 years or so, you may have actually seen the rise and the fall and the rise of this particular book, because this book was hot. It was hot in early 2019, if memory serves. This book was hot because Omnipotentus was in the book, right? It was hot. But I'll tell you, by the end of 2019, a raw copy of that book was selling for $4.99. And I know that because I actually went back to eBay and actually looked up the price earlier today. It was $4.99 in December of 2019. You can actually look that one up. A graded version of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur was $47 at a CGC 9.8 in December of 2019. I actually gave this book away earlier this year in 2020. Gave it away as an A-OK to somebody because I think it still had a couple of dollars worth of value, but it was one of those books that was in the collection. Probably should not have bought it, but I bought it for cover price because it was like the spec book at the time, and I bought it and then it cooled off and I was like, it's been in the bin for a long time. Let me go ahead and give it away to somebody who might actually appreciate that particular book. And so they probably made out like a bandit because I gave them the book for free. And as you know, if you were listening to this in, February of 2020, you know that book is hot again. How hot? How hot is that book? It is incredibly hot. Raw copies of that book are selling right now, not for $60. Some bought it for $60, not for $64, but some got it for $64. Not $89. Some got it for $89. Some actually paid $119 for a copy of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 28. And this was, I think the last sale that I looked at might have been earlier today. $119, February of 2020, somebody bought that book for. Graded books, 152 up to 250 up to 278 up to $295 for a 9.8 copy of this particular book. The waters are bloody. Whether you look at what happened in 19 or whether you're looking at what's happening right now in 2020, because the real question is, where is this book going to finish? And I think that a lot of the speculation around this particular book is that there is some belief that Omnipotentus is actually going to have some significance in a book that is actually going to be coming up, right? Is going to have a significant role. The question becomes, is that character going to maintain its value? And will Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 28, dope cover, it's a dope pink cover, will it maintain its value moving forward? But those waters of speculation, those bloody waters are, man, they are fierce, right? And the truth is that you can really only make your money if you're able to sell this book in a timely fashion after you actually buy it. Those people that sold that book for $119, the question becomes, can they actually sell that book in a timely fashion to be able to recover those dollars? Because let's say that they don't sell it and they decide to hold it. What is going to happen to that book 6 months from now? If what we believe to happen, to be happening, if it doesn't happen, what happens to that raw book that they now paid $119 for plus shipping? Right? $295 for a 9.8 of a book that just sold 2 months ago for $47. People ask me, when is the time to buy? When the book is not hot. When the book is at $47, that is the time to buy this particular book. But here's the thing. Though that is an example of the red ocean. So the question becomes, where is the blue ocean? The blue ocean is where people are not. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell you my secret. I'm not going to tell you my theory just yet, but what I will tell you is that where they aren't, and here is a good example, they are not looking at Adam Warlock right now. In 2019, it was all about Adam Warlock and and Guardians of the Galaxy #3 and James Gunn, it was all about Adam Warlock. People were hot and heavy over Adam Warlock because he was about to be in the MCU, and everybody was buying up those books, and the prices were skyrocketing at the time. They were skyrocketing, whether you're talking about Fantastic Four 67 or whether you're talking about Thor 165. The books were skyrocketing because he was about to be in the MCU. And then what happened? James Gunn had some issues, was fired by Marvel. He was then in limbo, hired by DC to do a movie, and then he was hired back by Marvel, but then he said, hey, I can't do your Marvel movie Guardians of the Galaxy 3 until after I do this DC movie. And so now it is back in play where Adam Warlock may appear, but what is happening with the prices of those books? They are falling dramatically. Those books have fallen in value dramatically. Why? Because everybody is on Omnipotentus and the new Batman 89. That's where people's attention is focused, right? So because people are focused on the bloody waters, the question becomes, where are the opportunities? The opportunities are in the blue ocean. And where's the blue ocean? An example of that is Thor 165, right? And this is actually something that was covered by a really, really talented, insightful blogger that did the Go Collect speculation thing, right? He put up a blog post which caught my attention as I covered it for Go Collect. And that's part of the reason why I'm giving this example, because it's not my secret. It's already out there in the public domain, but it's a great illustration of red ocean versus blue ocean. Thor 165, 5.5 is actually selling for $210. A 6.5 is selling for $300, and another 6.5 is selling for $285. Those are recent prices of graded Thor 165, which is a glorious cover featuring Adam Warlock. Raw copies of this book, if you can believe this, raw copies of this book recently went for $75. But it gets even better if you were the buyer, right? $20. One went for $5. And this was probably a book that might have been like a 5.0-ish. Went for $5. Somebody cleaned up on that one. I don't really understand that one. But my point is that the prices of Thor 165 right now today are very different from what they were when there was all of the hype surrounding Thor at the time. And I'm sorry, Adam Warlock at the time, when people were gobbling these books up. The opportunity for us, if you are a speculator, if you're trying to be a smart speculator, the opportunity is where everyone isn't. When people are making videos and they're putting out all of these alerts and they're talking about on the Twitters and they're posting about it on Instagram, those are potentially, again, for your consideration, those potentially are not the opportunities that you actually want to go after, unless you have some kind of inside track or unless you're able to move very nimbly, right? Otherwise, you have to ask yourself, where might the industry be going? Who might be the next hot character? Where might the next optioned thing come from, right? If that's the game that you want to play, you might want to think about it a little bit differently than how everyone else is thinking about it. Because the way most people are thinking about it is when they get the alert, then they go to eBay. When they see the video, they go to eBay. When they get the email, they go to eBay. When they see it posted up on the Instagram or in Twitter, they go to eBay or they go wherever they go to buy it. But by that point, the question becomes, is it too late? Is it too late? If you can play the time game, you can score big. But if you can't, if you have like other responsibilities, right, you might want to sit down and think about where is the market going? Where is the market going? That is the question. And in my head, if you can answer that question, you will be ahead of the game. There was a belief that I had more than 2 years ago that the MCU is going to go cosmic. And I still believe that to this day. I invested heavily in buying up cosmic related books because I believe that that was the future. But it's also, let's be completely transparent, I did that because I also have an interest in cosmic characters. I didn't necessarily buy these books because I wanted to turn around and sell them and make a ton of money. I bought these books because I was going to buy them anyway. And in order to get ahead of high prices, I asked myself, where is the market going to go? If the market's going to go here and I'm going to buy that thing anyway, let me buy it now when no one's paying attention. That is exactly what I did for a lot of Jack Kirby stuff. All of the Eternal stuff I bought more than 2 years ago. And I bought them because I was really into Jack Kirby. And I had this belief that there could be something that happened with Cosmic. And I'm going to be completely honest. I don't always get it right. I could have easily gotten it wrong, but that's okay because I still bought books that I had an interest in that are now in my collection, and I had an opportunity to actually read those books and enjoy them. I could have easily gotten it wrong, and I have gotten some wrong. I never want anybody to believe that I am perfect, that I am doing everything right, because that is not true. That is not true. I get a lot of things wrong. But when I get something right or wrong, to be honest with you, I want to highlight that because I think that there are lessons that we can all kind of learn from both the good and the bad. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm definitely looking forward to mixing it up with you guys. So I think that most people out there by this point that watch my videos actually know that I'm a parent. And I have 2 young children, both of which are really fantastic. A boy and a girl. The boy is the oldest at 5 and the girl is 3 years of age. And as a parent over the last couple of years, you know, there have been these phases that we've gone through. And I think there's many more phases to come. But we've been through these phases of, in the beginning, they didn't do much. They didn't do much of anything. You could put them in the middle of a room on the floor and you can come back however long later and they would still be in that spot. You just wanted them to do more. You wanted them to do more than just lay there and, stare at you. And then there was the phase where they start to do things and they start to get into things, and you wish that they didn't move so much. And you're like, can you just stay still? Can you just stay still and not get into all of the things that you're getting in? And then as they continue to get older, there are these various phases where you wish that they were this or you wish that they were that. And it's just been very, very interesting. And we're in a phase now with the boy who just turned 5 in December. We're in this phase with him where he is now in something called, I think it's TK, which is like a pre-kindergarten class that is essentially preparing him for kindergarten. And he's actually going to be going to this really cool school come August. And so he's in there where it's basically a transitional time for him. And, he is making the adjustment. He's making the adjustment of going from the little kids class, if you will, to this TK transitional kind of program where, he isn't playing all the time and he's expected to kind of sit still. And my wife was telling me this story the other day where, the teacher asked the class if any of them wanted to go to another teacher's class. And this is a younger teacher's class, right? Where it's not this transitional care kind of thing. It's something else. It's for younger kids. And it was more of a rhetorical question. And my boy blurts out, "I don't want to go." He is still trying to make this transition of clearly recognizing rhetorical questions, right? But also learning how to control his impulses and to control his behavior. And we're working with him on these things. And, he does these things now, and I kind of ask him these questions of like, why are you doing that? Why are you pulling all of the petals off of the flower? Why are you, playing in the soap and getting the soap all over the floor? Why are you doing this? What are you thinking? We were at soccer earlier today, and the kids are running these drills, and he's one of the youngest kids in the class, and he's like laughing while they're running, and he's still in the front of the pack, but because he is laughing and not necessarily focused on what he is doing, he isn't going as fast as he could, right? He isn't paying as close attention as he needs to because he's just out of control. He's just, they're standing there. The coach is giving directions and he's bouncing up and down. And it's just like, I just need you to control yourself. I need you to focus on what it is that is right in front of you, So we're working with him, trying to get him to gain better control of his impulses, get better control of his emotions, get better control of what it is that he is doing, And by now you're probably wondering if you clicked on the right video. Probably like, what is this video? What is this that I am listening to right now? Where is he going? As I examined the behaviors of my boy, over these last couple of weeks and maybe, 2 months or so, I could not help but draw some comparisons to our hobby and specifically to me and to my behaviors and how I approached the hobby when I came back into it after a very, very long hiatus. When I came back into the hobby, I was pretty much like a 5-year-old. I was like a 5-year-old. I had no control. I had no focus. I was everywhere. I was bouncing up and down, and I was just spending money. I was spending money just about on any and everything. If it looked hot, if it looked good, loosely looked good, right? If it were a book that was in front of me, I was buying it. I did not have focus. Did not have focus. I was pulling the petals off of the flower for no good reason, without any explanation other than my impulse told me to do so, therefore I did it. I was not thinking about the consequences of my actions. I was not thinking about the repercussions of what would come next. I was simply doing what felt good and what was there, and I thought about it, so therefore I did it. That book popped up, I bought it. I found it in the long bin, I bought it. Somebody said that there was a chance that something could happen to this character at some point. I bought it. I did it. I did not have focus. I did not have control. I was just doing whatever it was that struck my fancy. And thankfully, I was able, after making lots of mistakes and wasting a lot of money, I was thankfully able to gain some semblance of control of my behaviors and my actions. A couple of people have reached out to me asking whether I got in on the Hell Risen and the Batman 89, that was going on. And the answer is no. The answer was no. I did not get in on that. I did not attempt to buy any, did not look into it, didn't do any of it. Because there are things that I am focused on, that I am trying to accomplish that have yet to be revealed to anybody other than, my wife. There are things that I am working on that require me to be focused, and it requires me to block out all of the outside noise. And this is not a criticism. This is not a criticism of anyone out there that went out and bought those books, right? This is not that, right? This is me basically saying that I have the ability to have a myopic focus on a goal and a task that is before me. And because I have that ability to focus on that goal, that objective, I have this uncanny ability to be able to block out all noise. And I'm not tempted. I'm not tempted to do it because I know that what I am working towards is going to be so much more, is going to be so much greater than the short-term satisfaction that may come from this thing or this opportunity or that opportunity. I am so focused on that thing and that belief. And what I am working on, I'm going to be honest with you, it is a daunting task. It is a daunting task. And you think that you might know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to tell you right now that you do not know. There are literally only 3 people that know what it is that I am working on. But my point isn't to try to dangle some secret out in front of you guys. That's not what I'm trying to focus on. What I'm trying to say is that, in my opinion, you want to be less like that 5-year-old that is out of control. That 5-year-old that cannot control one's emotions. You want to be a little bit more in control of what it is that you are doing with your dollar. Because a 5-year-old doesn't have access to a credit card or to a banking account or to a debit card. They don't have the cash that we have to live out our impulses. You know what I'm saying? That we don't necessarily have that parent that will look at us and say, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? What sense does that make? We don't have that. So we have to become that for ourselves. We have to put these controls and these parameters in place to give us focus. Because if we don't, we will be that 5-year-old that is just out of control, just doing things with no rhyme or reason and working towards nothing other than whatever someone says is the hot thing or the right thing or the correct thing. We're not thinking, we're just doing. So I would encourage you. There are lots of videos on my channel that talk about the emotions that come with comic book collecting. I have lots of videos on strategy and tips and techniques. I think many of which are really practical. How to manage money, how to budget, how to make the hobby pay for itself, how to overcome FOMO, how to leverage FOMO in some respects, how to manage regret, and all of these emotions that we deal with as collectors and as people who are passionate about this hobby. I would encourage you to take some time to find those videos on my channel because I think that they can help you. I really do. I create content by and large to help people be smarter about this hobby. And as you listen to my videos, what you're going to hear is me never tell you what to do, but I will tell you about some things that you might want to consider, some things that you might want to think about. Because at the end of the day, if I can create a little space for someone to think a little clearly about a challenge, I believe that that person will make a smart decision on how to overcome that challenge or how to address this need or that need. So what I try to do is I try to create space in these videos, and I try to provide you with a little bit of stimulus and some things to consider, some things to think about so that you can make an informed decision for yourself. Because I don't want you to be that 5-year-old that is not paying attention, that is running in the wrong direction because they did not hear what the directions were. Don't run in the wrong direction. Don't miss the goal because you weren't paying attention. Yeah, these are real things that happen. These are real things that happen. And here's what's cool. What I try to do in many ways is I try to take these real life experiences, these things that actually happened to me in my life, and I think about how can I turn this awkwardness, this uncomfortable situation, this negative thing into something positive to actually help somebody else. Because rest assured that there is somebody out there that is listening, and it's maybe you have kids, maybe you were the parent on the sideline like I was at the soccer match, and this happened to you. Even if you don't have kids, you might have seen a movie. I don't know. But again, the goal is to create this content that ultimately helps us all become smarter about the hobby. I wanted to do this recording to address a couple of questions that have come into me over the last, maybe 6 months or so from collectors. And this question primarily comes from either new collectors or collectors that have recently returned to the hobby. And I think that there's a lot of reason for this. So I think that when a new collector comes into the hobby, they see all of the big books that are out there, and they see the price tags associated with those books, and they wonder. And I think that if someone is a collector that has returned to the hobby after being away for a long time, they too see the price tags associated with many of the books that they used to see back in the day as kids. And back then, they thought that those books were really expensive then, and they certainly think that they're really expensive now. But the question that comes to me, and it comes in many different forms, in many different phrasings, but essentially, the question is the same. And the question is, can I build a fantastic collection in today's environment? That is essentially the question that people are asking me is it possible to build a killer collection that I can be proud of? And I'm actually going to try to answer that question in this recording. And honestly, the short answer is no. The short answer is no. It is not possible. It is not possible. And I simply say that to be able to set some expectations. Because I think that new collectors and even collectors that have returned to the hobby may have a little bit of a mismatch in expectation, right? So this notion of being able to assemble this collection that is comprised of Action Comics #1 and Detective Comics #1 and, Amazing Fantasy #15, and all in super high grade, right? Fantastic Four #1 and Avengers #1, all in super high grade. There is sometimes, I think, a misperception that is what a good collection actually looks like. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is honestly what a fantastic collection looks like. But I think by and large, those days of being able to put together that type of collection may have passed us by unless you have buku bucks. If you have buku bucks, you can do exactly what I just described a few moments ago. You can have all of those books and many more in super high grade, and it will be perfectly fine for you. But if you don't have buku bucks, if you're like a normal person that works a job, if you're a normal person that works a job, that has responsibilities, that has a family, that has bills, that has, whatever it is going on, right? Where you don't have buku bucks to spend crazy, just crazy amounts of money on comics, right? I still believe, honestly, that it is possible for you to assemble a collection that you can be proud of. And I am not saying this based upon some anecdotal stuff, some theoretical stuff. I'm not saying this based upon things that I believe to be true. I am saying it based upon things that I know. I am saying it based upon things that I actually know because I've done it. I've done it. For those that don't know my background, I returned to this hobby at the end of 2017 into the beginning of 2018. And I returned to this hobby, and like many people, I was shocked and appalled by the prices of comics these days. I remember when comics were back in the day, when I was in the 90s, when I was in high school, when I was collecting comics. There were comics that I used to see when I used to go to a con, when I used to look in a Wizard magazine, and those comics seemed to be so expensive to me at the time. They seemed to be so expensive, but they really weren't, right? For a teenager that worked at Rally's, they were really expensive. But for an adult, right, an adult with a job, they were not expensive. But today, yes, these comics are expensive. They are expensive, especially if you have responsibilities like a family and like children, and if they actually like to eat and wear clothes and have a shelter, right? They are expensive. There's no doubt about that. But I believe that it is possible to still assemble a collection because I've actually done it. I returned to this hobby and I was very much shocked by the prices of books. But there were things that I did. There were things that I did when I returned to this hobby that allowed me to put myself in a position where I could actually have a collection that I could be proud of, that I felt was a respectable collection, not necessarily from the vantage point of other people, but from my vantage point. When I think about all of those books that I wanted, when I think about those books that I used to see in Wizard and on the wall at a con or on the wall at a comic shop, I now own many of those books. And I did not have those books, or at the end of 2017, at the beginning of 2018, I did not have those books. I had some books from my childhood, like the first appearance of Gambit, first appearance of Bishop. I had some of that stuff in the collection because I was collecting back then. And so I had some of that stuff. But many of the books that you actually see in my videos on the walls behind me, that you may have seen in my sugar box videos that I have here on the channel, though I did not have those books. If you haven't seen those videos, I definitely want to encourage you to watch the sugar box videos because they're cool. They're cool videos. But I did not have those books from my childhood that I have now, dusted off and found in mom's basement and sent off to CGC. I worked for those books. I had a goal. I had an objective for my collection, and I was focused, and I executed and I was able to put those books into my collection. And what I will tell you is that what I did was nothing special. I'm the first to admit that it was nothing special, other than I had some goals, I'd set some expectations for myself, and I stayed focused. There's no science here. I mean, no magic here, I should say. There's no magic. There's nothing special here. Certainly no one bought me those books. I went out and I busted my tail in order to build the collection that I have today, a collection that I am proud of. I'm very proud of it. But the reality is this: I did it. And so can you. That is the truth. I firmly believe that. So I want to, over the course of this recording, offer you a couple of things to think about, some things for you to consider. And like many of my videos, there are going to be things that I'm going to be talking about here that will resonate with you. And there are going to be some things that I throw out to you that will not resonate with you. There are going to be some things that you're going to hear. You're going to be like, I don't think Reggie knows what he's talking about. That's okay. If it doesn't resonate with you, chuck it. If there are things that speak to you, keep them. If there are things that you hear that need to be tweaked and modified to make them work for you, then you do that. I am giving you things to consider because I don't know your exact situation. Only you know that. But I want to throw a couple of things out to you. So the first thing is something that I've already kind of touched on, and it's really around setting some realistic expectations for yourself and your collection. I think that is really important, is to set a realistic expectation for what you can accomplish and what you can do based upon your situation, your financial situation, your amount of discretionary funds, your relationship with your significant other. All of these things affect how much money you can actually spend on comics, because I certainly don't recommend that anyone buy comics and end up going into debt because they are spending above and beyond what they can actually afford, right? They are going beyond their discretionary funds. I would never recommend that anyone put themselves in a position where they're buying comics and they're doing so to the point where it is detrimental to their relationship, whatever that relationship happens to be. I would never recommend that. And so you want to definitely set some realistic expectations for what it is that you are going to do, because I think that that's super important. Having some parameters for how you're going to execute is critical. And I'll tell you, I have a fantastic relationship with my wife, but we've developed that over years. And so a lot of the stuff that I've actually done with my collection, she's been in support of, or she hasn't really cared. There are certain things she just does not care about, and be completely honest. So set some realistic expectations that are appropriate based upon, your financial situation. I think you also have to set some expectations based upon what it is that you are actually trying to collect. And so I don't want to assume that we are all the same type of collector, right? There are different types of collectors out there. And to me, that's what makes this all really fun and exciting, is that there is a little something for everyone, right? There are people out there that love Silver Age and Bronze Age and Copper Age. There are some that love the Golden Age comics. There are some that love original art. And so I think that what you have to do is you have to set some realistic expectations based upon what it is that you're interested in, right? Because, what's realistic for a Golden Age collector in terms of how much money he or she is going to have to spend for Golden Age books is very different from how much a Bronze Age collector would have to spend for his or her collections or keys versus an original art collector, right? Those are all very different things. So I think you have to give thought to, what is it that I want my collection to be, and what is it that I'm passionate about, and what is it that I want to collect, and what is realistic in that situation. So for me, I'm a Silver Age guy, right? By and large, I am a Silver Age guy. That I dig Silver Age. I also dig Amazing Spider-Man, right? So it is not realistic for me to say that I am going to buy Amazing Fantasy number 15 at a 9.4, right? I don't have a, cool, 800 grand, 700 grand sitting around to be able to buy that book. I don't have that. I don't have that sitting around for that purpose. That would cause all kinds of issues in my life. But because I am a Silver Age guy, because I do want Amazing Fantasy 15, what is realistic for me might be a 1.8 to a 2.5, right? And there are some things that are happening with that book that is affecting the price of it, where the price is actually coming down, so you can actually afford, you can spend a certain amount to get more book for it. So there are things there, but what I'm doing is setting some realistic expectations for my collection, for my wallet, based upon what it is that my life's situation is. So I think that that's important. One of the next things that you definitely want to do is you want to set a goal. What is and this is something I've talked about extensively on the channel. And so if you have never heard one of my videos before on goal setting, you definitely want to search the channel, because there are ample videos around goal setting. So you have to set a goal. What is it that you want your collection to be? Right? Are you going to try to amass the best Silver Age collection you could? Right? Is your collection really about Bronze Age keys because you believe that Silver Age is, maybe too expensive for you, but you believe that Bronze Age is what the future is going to be, right? You believe that Bronze Age is the next Silver Age, right? There are some people that believe that, and there are some people that are like, I'm going hardcore on Bronze Age books because more and more people are getting priced out of silver, and so they're looking at the Bronze Age as the next best choice. The same way many guys look at the Silver Age that like Golden Age stuff, right? They're like, Golden Age too expensive, so I'm going to go silver. And now silver is starting to get expensive, and some people are saying, now I want to go after bronze. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to set a goal. What is your goal for your collection? By having a goal, it gives you focus. It allows you to decide where, how, and when you actually want to spend your money. Because if you come across a book that is a modern book, for example, you can look at that book and you can say, nice book, but that book is not for me. That book does not fit into what it is that I am trying to make my collection, because my collection is based upon Bronze Age books. And that's just a really gross example, right? Because if you come across a really nice modern age book that's a great price, you may actually just want to pick that up, because, collections in many ways aren't just one thing. But I'm giving you a gross example because I think that if I do that, you can figure out what a realistic example might actually be for your collection. But the point is, you want to have a goal, because the goal gives you focus. It gives you parameters for being able to execute things and being able to evaluate decisions, right? Being able to evaluate what it is that is in front of you. If you have a goal, it's very clear what you should do because you have some parameters. One of the next tips that I want to offer up is that in this day and age, you should absolutely not limit yourself to FeeBay. Don't limit yourself to FeeBay, aka eBay. And I've seen new collectors, and I've seen collectors that are newly returning to the hobby automatically turn to eBay. Why? They do it because it's fish in a barrel. It is literally fish in a barrel. You type in a couple of keys and you are able to identify comics all across the country that you've always wanted. Super easy, boom, it's right there. And all you have to do is press that buy now button and it is on its way to you in like 3 to 5 days. It doesn't get much better than that. But the challenge with using FeeBay is that it is a marketplace that brings together buyers and sellers, but the prices that are there are somewhat inflated. And they're somewhat inflated for lots of different reasons. Sometimes you have sellers that are trying to capture future value of a comic. So they believe that this comic that they're selling is going to go up in value in the future. And so they build that value into the price that they're asking for the book, when the book isn't really worth that future value, right? So they try to get you to pay for it to hedge their bet, but that's in their favor. It's not in your favor. Another reason why you sometimes see books overpriced on FeeBay is because of the fees, right? There are fees associated with both PayPal and also eBay that eat into someone's profit. And so instead of allowing that to eat into their profit, they basically tack those extra percents onto the price of the book. And they offer it up to you. That way they can still make their money. Another reason that books are overpriced is because people try to make up a little bit of profit on shipping. They will actually put shipping fees that are above and beyond what it actually takes to ship that book to you, because they're trying to make a couple of extra bucks. And a couple of extra bucks in a seller's pocket is better in their mind than a couple of extra bucks in your pocket, right? And so there are those reasons that I just cited and many more as to why FeeBay tends to be a little overpriced. But I say this to say that there are many places out there where you can actually pick up books. And I actually have a couple of videos on the channel. If you search for Regie Collects Secret Hunting or Regie Collects resources, there are plenty of places where you can actually find books at more affordable prices. There are apps, there are websites where you can actually find it. But I'm going to even take it a step further. Go out into the environment and find books. Hunting is one of the most enjoyable things in my mind that is associated with this hobby. Hunting for comics in the wild is one of the greatest pleasures in my mind, right? Going to a local comic shop and hunting through long boxes, trying to find really cool books is just an exhilarating experience that if you haven't yet discovered it, I want to encourage you. Treat yourself. I want to encourage you to go out and hunt. Find a shop that is nearby. Go there. Go by there and hunt. And then find another shop that is a little further away and go there and hunt. And find one that is a little further away and go there and hunt. And so on and so on and so on. And just go out to these local comic shops and hunt, because it is fantastic. And once you do that, you're going to be out there, you're going to be driving, you're going to be seeing all kinds of stuff. You're going to be seeing antique stores, and you're going to be seeing flea markets, and you're going to be seeing garage sales. You're going to be seeing this, that, and the other. I want you to go experience it. Hunt. By going out there and hunting, you are going to experience all kinds of stuff. And the lessons that you are going to learn from hunting in the wild will be invaluable. You will learn how to spot an actual good book versus a bad book. You will know the difference between a reprint and the real book, because you are inadvertently going to buy the reprint and you are going to kick yourself when you get home, and you will learn a valuable lesson from it. I am not wishing that on you. What I am simply saying is it is something that I have experienced, and it is something that other people in this hobby have experienced, and you never forget it. I did a video on the channel where I showed a Star Wars book that turned out to be a reprint. And I thought that I had struck gold. And I have not taken a video down. This was early on. I've not taken a video down because it was a valuable lesson for me that I will not forget. And so you're probably going to make similar mistakes where you're going to pay a little too much. You're going to buy the wrong book. You're going to buy a book that you have not pulled out of the plastic, and then you're going to get home and you're going to pull it out of the plastic, and you're going to realize that something's missing. You're going to realize that something was clipped from it. You're going to realize that there was color touch. There are all kinds of invaluable lessons that you will learn by hunting in the wild that will prove to be invaluable to you. And you can shortcut some of these things. Absolutely. But what I will say is that you are going to make mistakes, but you definitely do not want to beat yourself up. These are the lessons that we learn on the way to creating a collection that we can be proud of. It is a rite of passage. And I definitely hope you take fewer lumps than more lumps, right? I definitely want to say that, but don't beat yourself up when you take a lump, because mistakes happen and you will never forget those mistakes and you will learn from them. One of the other things that I've been talking about a lot on the channel is this idea of the blue ocean versus red ocean. If you have not seen that video, I definitely want to encourage you to go back and watch that one, because that is a video that I am extremely proud of. The red ocean versus the blue ocean. And really, the principle behind this thing is to fish where the opportunities are. If everyone is talking about this book is the hot book, then that may not be a book that you want to pick up, because that the prices for that book have already been inflated to the point where it more than likely exceeds the value of that book. And so if you are fishing in the red waters, the red ocean, and you are buying a book that has already been inflated beyond its actual value, and you buy that book, then the question becomes, will you actually make money or will you lose money on that? And this isn't necessarily about flipping books or any other kind of stuff, but why would you want to overpay for something when you potentially could get that very same thing cheaper by waiting just a little while longer? Right? So the concept behind the blue ocean is that you go where the opportunities are, and the opportunities are everywhere for blue ocean books. If you sit down and you really think about what are the expectations that you have for your collection, what is the goal that you have for your collection? If you're hunting not on Feebay, but you're hunting in the wild, you're hunting locally, you're hunting at local comic shops and in the community, then you're essentially potentially going after blue ocean books that have not been marked up, that have not had fees and all that kind of stuff tacked onto it. So you're kind of sort of hunting in those blue waters, which means that you're going to be able to get books that you really want for your collection potentially lower than what you would pay if you went online. Hunting the blue ocean will potentially save you a tremendous amount of money and also headache. There is nothing worse than paying too much for a book that you actually do not want in your collection. A book that you purchased because someone else told you to purchase it, doesn't fit in your collection, you buy it, you pay a ton of money for it, and then the next thing you know that book has basically become worthless. There is nothing, let me not overstate it. There are many things that are really bad, but this is also one of those things that will sting just a little. When you look at that book and you can't remember why you bought it, because it wasn't your decision. You bought the book because someone else told you to buy it. And then you spent your hard-earned money on that book. You bought it, and now that book is worth a whole lot less than what you paid for it. And you never read it because you don't read that title. And now you have it, and then what do you do with it? Setting realistic expectations for yourself. Setting a goal. Hunting locally. Fishing in the blue ocean. That's why all of these things will lend themselves to you being able to build a collection that you can be proud of. And again, you're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. Just assume. Just assume that is going to happen, because it will. But if you do these things, I firmly believe that if you do these things in a year or 2 years, you will have a fantastic collection that you can actually be proud of. I believe that it is possible. And I want that for you. So I definitely want to encourage you. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. I encourage you to go look at the videos that are on this channel, because what I have tried to do here at Regie Collects is I've tried to build out content that is helpful to the comic book community as a whole, but certainly helpful to new collectors and those that are newly returning to the hobby. There are many videos that I've set up on this channel for that purpose. So I want to encourage you to go find those videos, to look at the playlist that I've set up. Get that education. Decide what works for you and pull it in. Decide what doesn't work for you and discard it or tweak it, but do the research. Take the time to ensure that you are as educated and as informed as you can possibly be, so that you don't waste time and you don't waste money. and that you enjoy this hobby, because that right there is the most important thing, that you enjoy this hobby because it's amazing. I'm going to be honest with you. It is amazing. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this recording. If you haven't yet subscribed, I definitely want to encourage you to do that. Turn on notifications so that you can stay abreast of all the content that I release from the channel on a weekly basis. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so. You can do it on Instagram at Regie Collects, or you can send me an email to Regie@regiecollects.com. Take care. Because this video is all about building a really cool collection that you can be proud of, I want to give you an opportunity to add an awesome book to get you started down that path. And I'm offering this book up thanks to my relationship with Go Collect. And so this is the video that maybe you've been waiting for. It is the weekly giveaway announcement video in which I actually give you a phrase that you need to enter the giveaway. And to enter the giveaway, all you have to do is head over to the community tab. You find the post where I'm talking about this week's giveaway. You click the link, you go to MailChimp. You plug in 3 pieces of information. 2 of those are about you, and 1 of them is a phrase that I'll give you in just a moment. You plug that information in, you hit the submit button, and now you are in the running for this week's giveaway. All that I ask is that you be a subscriber of the channel, a resident of the United States, a resident of Canada, or have a mailing address in the US. That's basically it. You then tune in to the Ready, Set, Go preview show, which airs on Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, to find out if you are the winner. Prizes are awarded within 1 week, or up to 1 week after the announcement. And so you want to make sure that you tune in to the Ready, Set, Go preview show to find out if you're the winner before that time elapses. Now, with all of that said, here is this week's Go Collect giveaway book. It is Teen Titans. It is a showcase featuring the Teen Titans number 59. So showcase number 59. It is a 9.0 off-white to white pages. This is the 3rd appearance of the Teen Titans. A really fantastic pink cover. DC does a really good job with these pink covers. I absolutely love them. But this is this week's Go Collect giveaway book. And the phrase that you need for this week is teens. Teens. T-E-E-N-S. Teens is the phrase. Good luck.